and their corners. Carolina almost beat Seattle. Carolina almost beat the Rams twice because they have big receivers and attacked the smaller Ram corners. The Rams' high-end head coach, quarterback, tight ends, skill players, D-line depth, I think it's better than Seattle. I mean, the tight ends, both running backs, wide receivers, it's star-studded. But if you got a leak in the engine, the car breaks down. And Seattle doesn't have a special team issue. In fact, it's a strength. Seattle doesn't have a cornerback issue. That's a strength, too. Seattle is a little bit like New England. The O-line is okay, but there's nothing they're really bad at. I saw this line yesterday. I feel so bad for Matt Stafford. He's the first quarterback to throw for 350 yards, 3 touchdowns, have no turnovers, and lose a playoff start. Outside of third down, Stafford was magnificent. He even ran for a first down. He didn't do that all regular season. The Rams' last 2 games against Seattle, they had more yards than the Seahawks and go 0-2. And it's because of the hole, the corners, the special teams. This had an Ollie Frazier feel to it. Yes, it felt like we were watching the Super Bowl. It was just in Seattle. I watched it, and I kept thinking at the very end, Sean McVay is never going to have a quarterback again in his career that has 52 touchdowns and 9 picks. He's never going to have an offense this perfect. Devontae Adams and Puka, Blake Corum, Kyron Williams, 3 tight ends, 4 tight ends. Unbelievable interior O-line. I don't think Sean McVay's ever going to have an offense this talented. He's never going to have a quarterback that plays like this in a single season. And yet 0-2, outgaining them. It's just one of those things. He's going to be watching the Super Bowl at home like everybody else. So I do feel bad for people who are committed. This organization is great. They've got a stacked roster, but you saw it. You talked about it. We addressed it multiple times. The special teams felt like they would lose them a big game eventually, and they did.
You know, yes and no, because it all bounced out with the penalty from the unsportsmanlike conduct penalty that then directly led to a touchdown. You know, like those were 2 things that were flukes, gifts, whatever words you want to use. They felt outside of the game. Obviously, muff punts happen in the game, but like, you know, it always feels a little cheap when something like that happens and it's a massive gift. It was the same thing that happened with the 49ers and the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, and you're just like, oh my gosh, is that how you're about to lose this game now because of a muff punt? But it balanced out because then you had the 15-yard penalty touchdown boom. So I don't want to say if it wasn't for that muff punt, the Rams win that game, and it's like, okay, and if it wasn't for the 15-yard unsportsmanlike conduct penalty, the Seahawks win that game. And so I'm really happy that both touchdowns just nullified each other. And so then how did this game ultimately be won and lost? The Seahawks just executed a fraction better. They just executed literally a fraction better. That was the difference. That was the difference. And the Rams went for it on 4th down, didn't convert a couple crucial 3rd downs. And there you go. Like that. Like this right here has nothing to do with the muff punt. If I can get to it right here. 0 for 6, 0 passing yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and a 39.6 pass rate. And to be clear, this is not a math. I know this is, I didn't make it. Obviously, Con did, but this isn't like a Matthew Stafford graphic. This is just showing what they were inability to do passing on 3rd down. So this isn't like, oh, see, Stafford just wasn't good enough on 3rd down. That's not the case at all. Stafford was awesome. Stafford was elite. Stafford was special, and so was Sean McVay. I mean, nobody could stop anybody. This was an absolute classical shootout. Like, that's what this game was. And they could not force Sam Darnold into any mistakes. And even in the moments when they were making him uncomfortable, he was comfortable being uncomfortable. And I'm watching this game, I'm live streaming this game, and I'm thinking to myself, the Rams offense is in complete control. After that first drive when they went 3 and out and I was live streaming this and people made fun of me and I was like, I already love what I see from both offenses. And they're like, what are you talking about? The Rams went 3 and out, and I was like, yeah. And they look way more organized, and Way more like I was like, they're going to be they're going to be great. And that's exactly what happened. And then even when they were now down by 11 and everybody's like, oh, this game's over. And I'm like, no, it's not. The Rams are in complete control offensively. And they were. If there was a minute left in that game, there's no doubt in my mind that the Rams would have marched down the field and scored. Or if the Rams just had one timeout, or let alone 2 or 3 timeouts, they win that game. They could not be stopped defensively. They just could not be stopped, or offensively. They could not be stopped, and the Rams couldn't generate any stops either. I was so excited because I was like, this is going to be Mike McDonald versus Sean McVay. Like, what's this matchup going to be like? And it was like, it kind of still showed that offenses are king in a lot of ways, that sometimes just everything is crazy and you got to be able to let it rip. You got to be able to let it rip. You're going to be in some of these really obvious third down throws. You got to be able to let it rip. You got to be able to make the plays. You got to be able to make the plays. I mean, this is just two such evenly matched teams. They really, really are. And that's why it's been so awesome to watch. All 3 games were awesome to watch. And so it is a tough, devastating loss. And that's why I don't want to just blame it on special teams. I mean, if you really want to go back, we can say, well, special teams cost them, home field advantage and whatnot. But I mean, you lost to the Panthers. You can blame special teams all you want, even for the Eagles, because I know it involves some block kicks and stuff. But like, you let the Eagles completely get back into that game. You were rolling them in the first half. In the second half, Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown cooked you. And not to mention, you're an elite team. I trust your ability to be able to win something on the road. I don't think you're fragile enough where it's like, oh, if only we had home field advantage, we can win. It's like, yeah, don't get me wrong, that's great, and it's a huge benefit, but like, you got Matthew Stafford, you got Sean McVay, you got Puka Nua, you got Devontae Adams. Like, I don't care where you're at. I don't care. You could be playing in the sewers or on the moon. And they showed why you should have just an endless amount of trust in what they can do, especially offensively. Because I kept saying all season long, this is the team that I trust the most. I don't know if they're the best team, but at the end of the day, this is the team that I trust the most. And it's because of, Puka, Stafford, etc. And they all showed up. They all showed up making big throws, big catches, big play calls. They all showed up. The problem is, so did the Seattle Seahawks. And there was I don't want to say no difference maker for the Seahawks for the Rams, because obviously Puka is a difference maker, Stafford's a difference maker, but there was no difference-making moment in that game for the Rams. There was no difference-making moment for the Rams. There was for the Seahawks. There was for the Seahawks, and it was a collection of some crucial moment third down conversions, right? Not the touchdown to Jackson Smith and Jigba, the big throw to Shahed. Like, all those were important, all those were great. And the guy had already said the muff punt was neutralized by the penalty, but it was in some of these moments when it was like, we are leaning so heavy on our offense right now because our defense cannot come up with the stop. What do we have? And you convert. That's why they ended up winning. And now the Rams needed to lean heavily on their offense. And then they did get a stop. They didn't convert on third. They didn't convert on fourth. There was no difference-making moment in that game offensively for the Rams. And that's ultimately what was the difference between winning and losing in that moment of time. That fundamentally ended up being the difference in that moment of time. The Seahawks made the offensive play, the Rams didn't. Seahawks won, Rams lost. And now a lot of people are talking about, because Khan's like, oh, McVay will never have that. I mean, don't say never, man. Nobody thought McVay was going to have Stafford, and he got Stafford. And it's been just an absolute thing of beauty to watch. And watching a game like this, it really puts things into light where you're just like, man, we were robbed of Stafford's greatness for years in Detroit. And it's so frustrating. So frustrating. Because I just love to watch greatness. And this is why I said going into this game, don't set it up. Because everyone said, oh, if Stafford wins this game and wins the Super Bowl, he's a Hall of Famer and a top 10 quarterback of all time. And I said, nah, and so if he loses, he's not that. And I'm like, you either think he's that great or he's not. And I said, what happens if he plays great, unbelievable, and loses? That means he can't enter that conversation. I said, no, that doesn't make any sense. And a lot of people got mad at me and they were like, "You're a Stafford hater." Like, just weird conversation. And now it's just like, this is the exact scenario that I said. Matthew Stafford absolutely balls out, proves how great and elite he is in the biggest moments. Still lost. Are you going to hold it against him for not getting to the Super Bowl and not winning another Super Bowl? That would be absurd. That doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense. Drake May's going to the Super Bowl and he threw for 80 yards in his AFC Championship game. Matthew Stafford threw for 374 yards and 3 touchdowns and is going home. It's not just about wins and losses. A game like this is the perfect example of why quarterback stats are not wins and losses are not a quarterback stat. This is a perfect example of that. It's a perfect example of that. Now, on the other side, you could look at Sam Darnold and say, hey, quarterbacks contribute big time to wins and losses. They do. They do. But they could also play great and still lose. They could also play terrible and still win. It's complicated, but it's also really simple and really straightforward. But this is a tough loss if you're a Los Angeles Rams fan because you're like, man, look what we were able to do. Why couldn't we just round this out just a little bit? And it's just like, because it's hard to build these row, you can't have a great defense, great special teams, great offense, Stafford, Puka. You just can't have everything. If you have everything, well, then it's just like, yeah, then you go undefeated. Then you're just literally unstoppable. And it's just not how teams are built. And that's great. That's the benefit of the salary cap and all that type of stuff. And even injuries, unfortunately, because it just balances things out. Otherwise, man, it just wouldn't be fun. And so hopefully Stafford doesn't retire so we get to see him again. It's so hard to believe. The only way I see him retiring again is if his body truly is just like, man, I am just hanging on by a thread. I know it didn't look like it because I balled out all season. But like my body is just crushed. Or like I've said a lot now, like him and his wife is like, okay, come on. It's time. Come on, it's time. We only have so much more time with the girls. They're the perfect age. You know, we want to travel. We want to do this. We want to do that. Like, come on. It's time to hang it up before the girls get old enough and they don't care about their daddy as much. Like, you don't know the conversations they have. If it's strictly just football, I believe Stafford continues to play. If his wife is like, come on, it's time, then I could see him hanging him up. But if his family is supportive and they're like, come on, no, keep playing, keep doing what you love. I mean, I don't see why he wouldn't play for a few more years at this point. So I'm excited to see what decision they end up making. Obviously, I know that he was devastated after the Super Bowl loss. I saw the interview. They even tried to ask him and he was just like, can't ask me that 10 minutes after we just ended our season. He was definitely irritable, which I get. And Devontae was choking back tears and whatnot. Again, totally understandable. But if you bring back everyone and as long as everyone's healthy, I don't see why you're not just as devastating offensively. I just don't see why. And then you got the draft picks. You go all in on defense. Like I don't see why you're still not right here next year. I just don't see why. Again, obviously the injury gods and whatnot, but pretty remarkable season. Really, really awesome. And it's a tough one. It is a tough one how you can have such an unbelievable year like this Rams team did, like Stafford did. And quite frankly, McVay did. I mean, McVay was in his bag all season long. All season long. You can't get all the production and all the greatness that you got out of Puka, Devontae, and Stafford without Sean McVay. And so it's just you saw it all season long. And I think ultimately that's what should make you most excited about the Rams, and that you're not Matthew Stafford dependent, you're Sean McVay dependent. And lucky for you, the guy's like 42 or whatever the heck he is. This isn't some 65-year-old coach where you're like, well, please, one more year. Like you still got an entire football career ahead of you. So the Rams are still, from my viewpoint, in just an unbelievable position whether Stafford retires or not, and especially if he sticks around outside of health. I just don't see why you're not great next year and an elite top team and another team that you can continue to say, well, I know I'm going to trust in the biggest moments. Oh, the Rams have to be on the road in the divisional round. Yeah, I believe that Matthew Stafford, Pukanua, Devontae, Sean McVay, et cetera, will be able to handle that just like they've done now for years. And it's a great spot to be in. If you want any more than that, you're just being greedy at that point, So, great season for the Rams, tough loss for them, but just the way it goes. Those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Los Angeles Rams? What do you think went wrong for them last night? Why they are not en route to the Super Bowl? Let me know your thoughts. I read every single comment. So, whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all generally feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help visibility in the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.